So this guy right here, I used to think he was a huge schmuck. He was dating my sister. She was 21. He was 10 years her senior. He was known as the office Cyrano, and I was always the protective older brother. And so 5 years of dating, he proposes, she accepts, and I'm at this crossroads where I can continue to hate him and just issue venom in his direction, or I can change my mind. And over this process, I started to think, well, why is changing your mind so hard? And since this is a conference about corporate innovation and companies are a collection of people, I wanted to talk about personal disruption. So changing your mind, it's hard because of the affect heuristic. If you think of your brain as a computer and raw data is the zeros and ones, that data doesn't take on meaning until it passes through this filter of feelings or the software. And so that creates a kind of a shortcut for how you look at the world so your mental RAM doesn't overload. And then when you layer that onto it's kind of ensconced with your ego, which kind of fortifies that worldview and makes changing your mind particularly challenging. The way that I had a very tough time with the guy Paul from the first slide. So in order to change your mind, the first thing you need to do is kind of curb your ego a little bit. And so in the service of corporate innovation, I thought it'd be helpful to talk about my personal disruption in my own life, starting when I was a boy of 9 years old. I was inspired by Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. I thought I could build a zip line in my backyard using kite string and a coat hanger, not really knowing a lot about physics. Turns out physics won, and I broke my arm. And I used to think that cauliflower was bland and tasteless, and a pox on anybody's head who liked cauliflower, and I've since come to appreciate that it's a palette for a wonderful cornucopia of flavors. Let's hear it for cauliflower. That's right. I used to lift 7 days a week. I looked like a gorilla holding invisible luggage, and I thought that that was the means to attracting the fairer sex. And as I've gotten older, I've taken up an interest in endurance sports and slimmed down, and my neck is now a normal size. I used to be straight edge. I thought all drugs are bad. I've since come to appreciate that in concert with a therapeutic process, psilocybin could be a terrific pathway for unlocking empathy and pathways to creativity. I used to think you had to be one way at work, one way at home, another way with your friends, and I realized that also takes a tremendous cognitive load, and so I've come to embrace this idea of bringing one's whole self to work. That's the fam, if anyone wants to know. I also used to think that all coaching was remedial, court-ordered, or when you do something wrong. But as our company has grown, and as I've really tried to grow as an executive, as a CEO, as a friend, I've realized that coaching has been incredibly helpful for me and members of my team. I used to think that when something was wrong in the world, or when something is wrong on the domestic political scene, that there'd be some kind of deus ex machina, someone to come in and John Wayne the situation. Turns out, not the case. As I spend time in a lot of different rooms, I realize increasingly I'm the adult in the room, and so someone doing something is better than everyone doing nothing. And so I've also come to appreciate that this is really more of a framework for growth, feedback, maybe 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, as opposed to growing in a straight line. And so this has had a tremendous impact on my life and my sense of fulfillment and happiness. That guy from the first slide is not just a brother in law, but a brother in fact. And he's now a wonderful friend and investor in my company, and now the father to 2 wonderful nieces.